Probably why Mothers Against Greg Abbott, has a really good brand and strategy. I did have a lot of experience in this area, so it just seemed like I could handle it naturally. But anyway, so that kind of explains a few things. But I'm going to go right ahead and just we'll introduce it down the line.
I'm Lindsey Hoeft. I'm a graphic designer. I mostly focus on branding, and I work mostly with progressive candidates, PACs, and nonprofits, and I've been working with Nancy since 2022.
Hi, my name is Sandra Castro Richards, and I'm CEO of 1797 Creative. We're a full-service marketing agency. We're located in San Antonio. I've been working with Nancy before 2022. We worked on the Greg Abbott campaign. You're going to see a lot of some creative that we did. We helped with some billboard designs. And I really know I'm a media strategist, so I'm going to teach you a little about media today.
Hi, I'm Tom Giliam. Since 2019, I've been the senior web store account executive at Bright Blue Ink here in Austin. Before that, I spent almost 10 years as a local campaign professional, mostly doing field here in Central Texas. I spend my days obsessed with union bugs and product colors.
Hi, my name is Rachel Anthony, not Troy Jones, but I work for Printed Union. We are a union print shop located in the DFW area. My background is in PR, marketing, and communications, and we've been in the California area for about 30 years. It's a family-owned print shop. A year and a half ago, we opened a shop in Dallas, and my two cousins, who are the owners, came to me and said, marketing, same. So we need you to come and work for us. And I'm pretty sure everyone here knows you don't say no to family. So here I am now doing the print, the sales, and all of that for Printed Union.
Okay, I'm going to kick it off. So the beginning of this is going to be like Lindsey and I. We may have some little banter that kind of goes back and forth. We'll see how this goes. Okay, first of all, my slides are going to be pretty boring because I didn't actually work on this until last night and at 6 o'clock this morning. Total confession. So usually I would add graphics and do all this pizzazz, but you know what? I'm just going to bring my character to this part of the presentation, so it'll be fine. So a lot of times when candidates are running, they pick slogans, and I'm just going to give you all some really quick feedback on some slogans. When you select a slogan or a saying that you want to say with your name, create something that is memorable, please, something that was quick. It is part of your personal branding, and it needs to be short, simple, catchy, and memorable. And remember, you need to put it on a sticker. So if it's too long for a bumper sticker, maybe not a good idea. Okay, so let's make sure that you pick a really nice short slogan that can define you and what you want to do with your campaign, and that it looks like you and feels like you, and that you're comfortable with that slogan. That's the most important thing. Next is when we're talking about messaging, sometimes messaging and how you write and you copyright, it can be the most intimidating thing that a candidate does, because you're just like, well, how do I sound like? How do I want to sound like? How's it going to be perceived by people? And super duper intimidating. So I'm going to tell you all, use an active voice, stay positive, be clear in what you're saying, and stay on message. Next is don't play defense, play offense, because you need to define who you are and not the enemy define you. And this is something that the Republicans are so good at. And we already see them. They're testing out how they're going to define James Tallarico, and it's all over the internet on X. They're trying to call him, well, nothing is really sticking because they're calling him a radical. The guy looks like a total prep, I mean, that's not what a radical looks like. That's not what so it's not going to stick. But you see that a lot of people are throwing stuff out there and they're trying to see what sticks and what is going to define you. So you really need to make sure that you define yourself, okay? Don't let them define you. Define yourself. Draw a really good contrast between you and your opponent. all right? Make sure that it's very clear who you are and who the opponent is. So define them. Remember that this election is about kitchen table issues. It's the economy, stupid. Okay, repeat that over and over and over again. So when you want to get taken off track by someone's culture war issues, don't let them. Find a way to cycle that issue back on the economy. So if somebody wants to make this about, women's abortion and some of this stuff, like, I'm not saying like don't talk about that, but you say, you know what, women are the primary caregivers in their family, and women now out-earn men by this much. And when a woman loses her job, it impacts the family like this. And you turn everything around on them. We have to be really quick on our feet to find ways to turn things around on them. Next is, again, I keep on saying this, we need to focus on the democratic populist message that goes to the things that everyday people can relate to. So when you think about this and you start defining your messaging strategy, please come back to this. We forgot to talk to regular people. And I would also say one thing, God love, candidates that speak in big words, okay? But this is not the time to use how you are so good at the dictionary, all right? Not the time. Not the time. We don't want to hear that you know every single adjective for the term fun. Just use fun, okay? Just use a simple word. Don't show off. Okay. Next is, I'm going to tell you guys about sneaky things that other people are not going to tell you about because Democrats are always being nice, all right? So the first sneaky thing that you need to do as a candidate is you need to set up Google Alerts. You need to set up Google Alerts on the topics that you're interested in. You need to set up Google Alerts with your opponent's name, all right? Okay. You set up Google Words. I have a Google alert for Greg Abbott because he is the bane of my existence and I have to wake up every morning to all those things to see what evil things he's up to. So the next is you need to research your opponents. And when you research your opponents, it's not okay to just be like, oh, this press release went out today. No, you need to become a librarian and you need to get really good at spreadsheets. You need to put down the date that the press release was sent. You need to put what the content was of that press release, a summary of it, and then a link to it, okay? And if you can't do those things or a screen capture and then set up a folder for you to drop all those screen captures in, you really have to be smart about the amount of details and information that you keep about your opponents. So if you need to refer to it for future messaging or something that you want to see on a website, or let's say they said something stupid about gun violence and then we have a gun shooting tomorrow, you know what folder and you know where these quotes are at and you can refer to it, okay? You need to do that and you need to invest time in doing that. It is super important. Even if you just do it for 1 hour a week, that's better than nothing. All right, you need to set up I said take, but I meant fake. Set up a fake email account and you follow your opponent's newsletters, okay? And social media. You need to set up some fake accounts, okay? I'm not I'm sorry, that's the truth. You need to do it. I know it's this underground thing that we're not supposed to talk about. Just do it, okay? And just be if somebody wants to say anything to you, just tell them Nancy told you to do that. It's totally fine. I'll take the hit for that, so it's good. Next is practice your talking points and use theirs as a differentiator. A lot of times they'll have their talking points on their website and just be this is what I think, this is what they think. So make sure that you can refer to their talking points and talk to their talking points. Next is listen. When you're out there and you're knocking on doors and you're meeting people, listen. Do not talk. Do not interrupt people. Seriously, listen. So that is a sign of a good politician. They listen to other people. Okay, next is just don't, less is more. Don't overthink about, you don't need to have a position on every single thing on God's green earth, okay? Just stop. Don't do that. You don't have the time for that. Just develop between 3 and 4 key positions that you're going to talk about and that you're running on and build those out. So before you branch out into the other 5,000 things that are wrong with Greg Abbott, just focus on 3 things, okay? Just start there. It's so much easier. Then this is going to be the hardest part for politicians or anybody who's up here and running for office. You need to practice your pitch. You never know when you're going to be on TV. You never know when you're going to be on a panel like this. You never know when you're going to run into someone in the hall and they don't have that much time and they seem like they're in a hurry and you don't want to talk to them for 15 minutes, okay? You need to practice your pitch about who you are, and you need to get that pitch down, which means that you need to develop a 1-minute pitch, a 2-minute pitch, a 3-minute pitch, a 5-minute pitch, and a 10-minute pitch. And you need to practice and practice and practice and practice. That means you talk to your cat, you talk to your dog, you talk to a pillow on your couch. And you practice these things over and over and over again till they become totally infused in your brain like a muscle memory, and you know what you're going to say, because you have to get these pitches down, because you need to do things like read the room and make sure that what you're saying is to the point. All right. So next is, what do you really need to know about your website? Okay, so I'm going to channel my inner fast-talking Latina, and here we go. Okay, first you need a logo, and you need your branding colors, and they need to be like on your theme, and you need to stick to your theme. So if you don't like change your branding colors. Like, so if you picked that you're running and your color is navy, don't show up somewhere wearing like pink, okay? Don't like suddenly change something or suddenly change a social media graphic. All right, your the email and the cell phone sign up form for newsletters and texts, that needs to be pretty much at the top of your page so people can sign up for your newsletters and your texts. That's why you ask for a cell phone number, all right? You need to make sure that you have contact information, a contact email on your website, that email that actually people check. I cannot tell you how many times we email candidates and it turns out they don't even check that email, or it goes to their campaign manager from like last year, all right? So you need to make sure that you get whatever way that people contact you on your website, that you have someone or you see that email. Next is donate button. A donate button needs to be on the top of your webpage and on the bottom of your webpage, okay? So please remember that. It goes in several places, top and bottom, and if your webpage is really long, throw it in the middle. Just like, just put it in there in a few spots. Make sure that you add all of your social media buttons to your to your website, but add all the social media buttons. I will tell you which social media channels you need next, but just be patient. A mailing address. You need to put a mailing address on your website, because sometimes there are people who don't want to use ActBlue, or they don't want to do online donations, but they want to send you a check. So you need to give them a place where they can send you a check, and that is a mailing address somewhere on your website. Next is meet the candidate. Introduce yourself somewhere on your webpage, and I call it meet the candidate. Introduce yourself to them. I would put something out there with a video as well as text, because they need to get to know you. And you can even put up there like some short form videos. Make yourself personable. If you want to introduce them to your dog, introduce them to your dog. And be like, hey, this is my dog Sparky. Just introduce them to whoever. Be personable, be relatable. Issues. You need to have an issues page on your website. And this is where all of remember, not 5,000 issues, just like 3 or 4. This is your issues page, okay? Events. People need to know where you're at. So you need to keep an events page updated, all right? I do not want to see anything from 2021, all right? You need to make sure that this is updated. A volunteer sign-up page. You need to ask people to volunteer for your campaign, but not just that. Ask them what they're interested in. You could say that you need canvassers, you need people to do phone calls, other things, but then you can also leave a blank form and you can ask people like, do you have a special talent that you want me to know about? Because then you'll find out that maybe somebody speaks fluent Vietnamese and you need someone who speaks Vietnamese to help you canvass. That would be a great way to find out those things, like if they speak another language. Media information. Okay, this is key. Every single candidate needs to have media information on their website. It is not just only for press releases. You could have links there to any kind of media that you have. Like if you were quoted on, in a newspaper, or you were on CNN, have links to all of this media. But not just that. You need to have your headshot. We have them for free in that other room. Please take a headshot sometime today. But you need to have your headshot on your webpage. You need to have it available for download. You need to have a short bio. You need to have a long bio. And if you have other candid pictures with you that you don't mind being out there for people to use, please add those as well. The candidates that put this information on their website, it is just easier because you don't have to hunt them down and beg them 1,000 times to please, 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 please send me your images. You know, it's so much easier. Okay. Okay, set up your link tree. Who here has a link tree set up? You all better get to work. Okay? This is what you're doing on Sunday. You can watch football and set up your link tree. Why do you set up a link tree? Well, there's a couple of companies that compete with Linktree, but most of them are for the retail business. But Linktree, it does a great job for candidates. You use it because you can do a lot on Linktree for free. Okay, Free, free, okay? Something you do not have to pay for. You can set it up and you put it on all of your social media pages. When they say link in bio, this is what they mean. So put it in your bio on all your social media pages. So what do you put on your link tree? You put in all of your social media links to all the other social media channels that you are using. You put up your donation link that goes straight to your ActBlue. You put up any event that you're going to be attending, put it up. If you're doing a presentation, put a link up to your presentation. If you want volunteers to sign up, put up the sign up form and also put up your website. Your link tree is so super uber important because remember, okay, we have to find the path of least resistance. Remember, not everybody is a super genius, and you have to give them access to all the information about you as easy as you can. As easy as you can. Don't make them dig for it, okay? Okay, let me just tell you, I did an inventory of every single person in Texas in elected office, and I know exactly what all their weaknesses are based on their whether they have social media, do they have YouTube, do they have a website. I can tell you there's a handful of Democratic people in elected office who let their websites expire. A big no-no. And those folks are like our weakest link right now. And I'm not going to tell you who they are, but I am going to reach out to all their people on their campaign and be like, you all have a problem. These are your problems that I identified. And you need to get this fixed before the 26th election. So super duper important. I don't know if this is the end of mine. We'll see. Oh, yeah. Okay, here. What is the social media channels that you need? Okay, these are all the things. And it seems to be growing all the time, but I think that this is going to be good and run for you until 2026. So here you go. You need to have Facebook. You need to have Instagram. You need to have Twitter. I know it's called X now. I still call it Twitter because it's just me giving the finger to Elon Musk. So anyway, I still call it Twitter. Okay, TikTok. TikTok is changing some things right now, and they think that they're going to get rid of political content. So we now just need to use codes. Like when you're thinking about voting for a donkey, please vote for me. Okay, so we now need to create a new way of talking, and my encouragement to all of you to start talking in like code speak is if those Gen Alphas can do it with, skippity whatever, we can do it too, all right? So channel your inner thing and let's develop a new language in order for us to continue promoting ourselves on TikTok. All right, moving on. Threads. A lot of Democrats use Threads. It's really easy to use Threads because it's connected to Instagram and Facebook, and a lot of times you can push to all three at the same time. Blue Sky. It's very Democratic focused, but it's useful when you want to talk in a silo. All right. Substack. I think everyone should have a Substack because the purpose of the Substack is for you to talk in your voice about some issues that may be important to you, and it's different from fundraising emails, okay? But it's a great way to talk about an issue or something that came up for you personally as a candidate. And YouTube. Every single one of you needs to be on YouTube. You need to put up any media that you do. It needs to be YouTube Shorts, but you all need to have YouTube pages, and you need to organize your playlists. All right. Moving on. You need to invest some time in social media. Short form video is super duper hot. What do I mean by short form? I mean 15-second videos, 30-second videos, 1-minute video, 2-minute video. Short form is where it's at in 26. If you can't learn how to talk like Speedy Gonzalez and talk really super duper fast and get your message out, go and get the software tools that will make you sound like Speedy Gonzalez talking really, really fast, okay? So you can do that because I think, Josh talked about some of those tools yesterday. All right, you can use a program like Buffer, and it saves you time, and you can load on all your Instagram, all your social media channels at the same time. It's super duper fabulous. I highly recommend it. Next is branded templates on Canva. Canva is amazing. I was trying to get Canva to come and speak to us, and I couldn't find anybody. But Canva is amazing, and if you do set up a bunch of branded templates of what your look and feel is like, it keeps you from having to redesign your concepts over and over again, and you have them there already set up as templates. And also, you need to invest. Every single person in this room, when you're watching TV, the same time, you're watching one of those I'm abandoned on an island show. When you're watching all of these things, you can invest 15 minutes a day on following people back on social media. All you do is just pick a thing and just start following people back, okay? So invest in your social media account 15 minutes a day and start following people. Next is you need to invest 30 minutes a day responding to people's comments and questions on social media. I don't always do a really good job at this, I have to admit, lately, but I'm going to try. After I heard Josh yesterday, I'm going to do a better job. All right, moving on. Little branding things that you need to remember. You need to add a logo to all of your videos. You can create a sticker and then add logos to all of your videos, including short form, including things that you do on Instagram and all that stuff. Getting CapCut, you can add these little graphics and then you can add them onto CapCut. As I think Josh mentioned yesterday, CapCut on your phone is fabulous, but CapCut on your desktop is amazing, okay? You can do so much stuff. It's pretty cool. Next is when you're doing Zooms, create a Zoom background for your campaign, but you notice the biggest mistakes that candidates do is they put their name and their logo across the entire screen, and then you guys, sometimes you just don't know what these names look like when you're sitting in the middle of the screen, okay? So you don't want to look like P and T. You want to make sure that people know what your whole name is, and you put your logo, the logo that you're running on in the corners. The other thing you should think about doing is adding a QR code in the other corner, okay? So, and then, notice our tagline. We're fighting for Texas families. Here you donate. There's all of our social media channels. This is our website. So definitely do that. And then I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to mention the printed materials, but as we go down, we'll talk a little bit more about the printed materials. So really fast, printed materials. You need a business card with a QR code for donations. You need to think about the printed materials, and you need to think about everything on print that gets printed as real estate. Don't think of it as a push card. It is real estate. So how are you going to sell your real estate, and what is it going to look like, and how are you going to maximize your space in your real estate by not keeping it busy, but keeping it really clean and readable and easy to use, and something that isn't going to end up in the recycling bin, okay? So next is you need to make sure that you print push cards. Push cards or door hangers. So when you're canvassing on doors, door hangers rock. If you can afford door hangers, do it. It's so awesome. Next is you need to have a one-pager or a two-pager, depending on your audience. This tells people where they can donate to your cause. Tell them a little bit about why you're running, why they should vote for you. And when you go to different events like this, you can go around the tables and put out your one-pager or your two-pager. Next is you need to have a sticker with your logo and your name on it. Make sure you get those printed. And then when you show up at places like this, you need to make sure that people on your team are wearing your t-shirts or your branded gear with your name on it. We need to be able to identify everyone who is a member of your campaign. I mean, we went to some events earlier, and there was a girl who's running, her color is purple, and her whole entire team was wearing purple shirts. So important. Your team that shows up at your campaign events, they all need to look the same with some of their branded material. And the other teams will talk about all that next. Okay, I'm all done.
Okay, I'm going to go over branding and how to get you started with a strong foundation. So your brand is more than your logo. It's everything that encompasses you and your campaign while you're out campaigning. It's your personality, your values, your vision, your tone and voice, and also how voters perceive you and how they respond to your campaign. But it's also your logo, your brand colors, fonts, photography, etc. So while you're campaigning, you're building brand equity, which means you're building trust and recognition. You should keep things consistent. You should be ready at launch. I know that y'all have friends that can offer you free branding for the time being, but it's really not a good idea. Your launch day is often one of your biggest fundraising moments, and you should use it to set the tone. Even though you could start out with free branding or temporary branding, every time you switch your branding, you're losing brand equity. And brand equity will make it easier for voters to vote for you. And every campaign touch point is an opportunity to build that brand equity, just like Nancy was mentioning. Like, it's real estate and you should take advantage of it. The 4 pillars to a strong brand, it should be distinctive. So go ahead and look at what all the yard signs look like in your neighborhood. Look at your competition, look at what they did last year. Just take a survey of what everything's looking like. It should be appropriate, it should represent you. You should feel confident with it. It shouldn't contrast with your messaging. It should take into consideration who you are, what your campaign represents, and the people who are voting for you. It should be likable. It should build positive emotional responses. You want to be perceived as professional, respectable, and competent, and it should be memorable. So repeating consistently over the entire campaign and building brand equity. So the core brand elements are a logo. You want it to be high res all the time. When it's on your website, like, I know that people are concerned about file sizes when it comes to website, but your logo is tiny when it comes to size, and just go ahead and make it really big so that other people can grab your logo off of your website easily. And you'll want a light and a dark version from the start, and it'll make your life so much easier. And when it comes to colors, red, white, and blue are common colors to use, and they're fine. Like, go ahead and use them. But when you go to select a supporting color, think about what it means. That's important. Green usually means progressive, focused on environment, stuff like that. Purple usually means you're not aligning that closely with either party. Orange brings energy, same with yellow. Fonts, keep them really clean. Like, people think that they need to use something crazy to be to differentiate themselves, but that's not true. Like, think about legibility, think about how your audience is going to be able to read that and absorb that. You don't want to make them think too much, so don't go crazy with the fonts. Keep it really simple. Photography, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this on another slide, but yes, headshots, go get your headshot. And you should have action shots, either you speaking or interacting with other people. And then supporting elements, and keep these consistent across the brand. So you're going to have patterns, textures, illustrations. Don't go throwing in new, like, illustrations or elements just because you think they're cool, because it doesn't help keep consistency. And then you're going to have your website and donation pages. Have these ready at the start. It doesn't have to be a full-fledged website, but it should be branded. It should have your donation pages branded and ready to go from day one. It doesn't have to have a lot on there, but, like, brand consistency is really key here. Same with social media. Try to have all your handles exactly the same. It'll make your life so much easier. It'll be super simple for you to stand up and talk about your social media if you just give one handle and have them all branded to match. Like, you don't need to get crazy, just across the board have them match. Print collateral, have a business card, push cards, merch, takeaways for your supporters, like buttons, stickers, all of that on day one is really good to have. Okay, when it comes to photography. So you're going to get headshots today. Keep them high res the whole time. Like, I've worked with many candidates who end up sending me a tiny little headshot, and it's a nightmare. Truly, it is a nightmare to work with those. So just keep it high res, keep it big. Like, let the designers and whoever's using your headshot decide how small it needs to be. Action shots. So it's good to have you speaking in front of an audience. That's really useful. But also, if you're having volunteers or campaign staff help you with your photos, it's really good to get photos of you listening to people talk. 1 to 3 people shot with you in focus and the people you're talking to from behind, and just you listening. Those are the most perfect photos to have, and it's good to have those photos of you speaking with a diverse range of people. It'll come in handy when you're talking about policy and when you're talking to different groups of people as you're campaigning. Oh, and avoid generic stock photography. Like, just don't do it. Like, it doesn't help at all. It's better to leave that off and have good copy instead of generic stock photography. Okay, so your launch checklist. Your website live, like I mentioned, your ActBlue or donation platform branded, social media handle secured, and your launch posts up, print collateral, which I mentioned before, and your headshots. So it's that simple. Like, you don't have to overthink it at launch. Just make sure you have these key elements ready to go so that they're reusable and you can build on it throughout the campaign. Okay. And all this to say, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like, you don't need to create the coolest thing on the planet. That's not your goal. Your goal is to build credibility with voters. So don't start with the free, cheap branding. Go ahead and invest in your branding from the start. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It just, like, work with somebody who does branding as a job. Don't overcomplicate your designs. It lowers comprehension. A lot of people struggle with reading and comprehending things, so don't overly complicate things. Keep it as simple as you can to portray your message. Keep colors, logos consistent throughout the entire campaign. Like, you probably get tempted. People will show you cool stuff. Like, your volunteers will show you cool stuff. That doesn't mean you need to use it. Just say thank you and move on. And so really keep it simple and make it effortless so that voters can trust and support you. Your entire goal during your campaign is to get your name out there so that when they look at the ballot, they can easily find you and check your name. Even voters who aren't paying attention, if they recognize a name on there, they're so much more likely to check that box.
Let me get the next one. Which one do you, okay, you're doing outdoor first. Okay.
Yeah, so you want me to go through it fast because we have 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, I'm going to talk about outdoor boards and how essential it is for campaigns. Most candidates I've worked for in the past used outdoor boards. This is an outdoor board that we used for Mother Against Greg Abbott campaign in 2022. Location, 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 and then I say creative messaging. We've all seen boards that have too many messaging and you can't read it. So I think that's going to be key and important. Next slide. Okay, the importance and effectiveness of purchasing outdoor boards. You know, it's high visibility. I think they're consistently out there. People drive by them constantly. And you can target demographics. So if you need to target like a Spanish population, you know what side of town, what zip codes you need to target, and geographic locations. And reinforcement of the candidate's message. What is your key message? That needs to be on your board. Next slide. Okay. The board's going to help you become familiar with your audience, the target audience. As people drive by it, they will see your face, they will see your message, and it's very important, and especially for lesser known candidates. You're introducing yourself to everyone. It creates a sense of momentum, especially when you have multiple boards around the city. You know, it's like you're in different areas, people see you in different places. They get to see your messages. You can have different messages on different boards. It complements other campaigns, like if you're running television, radio, you know, other digital marketing, all of that. High visibility. Of course, it's highly visible. Reaching voters as they commute to and from work. That's highly important. Effectiveness in reaching disengaged voters. There's a lot of people who are really busy, especially busy moms, and, you know, they're driving to and from work, and when, you know, they come home, they're cooking dinner and doing homework. So this is an important way to reach them. outdoor boards cost. And this is all media. It's like media is based on how large the population sees your ad. So there's a big difference between, highly trafficked ads versus like remote location. I, for one, would rather have more people see your ad than less. And so it's really important. And then also, when you're selecting boards, the first thing I do, and I think yesterday, if you were here, I talked about having a marketing plan. So the first thing I do is like, I'm going to outline the plan of like all the media and when it starts and stops. The first thing I do is book outdoor because it goes really fast during, there's going to be a large election. So even in January, you need to have your boards booked for November because the good boards are going to be gone. So these are going to be the type of boards that are available. We have traditional static boards that you see on the major highways. The thing, the pro on that is you own the board, on that. But this requires booking in advance, and it requires production fees. So you actually have to print a vinyl on it, and so that adds to the cost. Most of my candidates usually have one or two, because they want to own the board. I think the next one is digital boards, and it looks like a big TV screen. I love digital boards, but you share the board. So there's 6 to 8 different ads per minute, and the average length of ad, here, I could look right here instead of up there, is 7.5 seconds. But there is no outdoor production cost, and I think especially, in the evening, it really pops. Rotary boards. These are like your static boards, but they are on a rotation schedule so that you can move around the town. But the rotation's like every 60 to 90 days. So these are only for long-term campaigns that they work. A lot of times I'll just take the static boards and make them rotate, booking them less time and making my own rotation. And that's how I usually work that. Poster boards. So these are 30 sheets and 8 sheets. These are the ones that you see on main streets. They're not on the highways. They're smaller. And I think these are more for like local, like city councils and stuff. You want to reach certain areas, certain streets. These are a good option for you. So strategic recommendations, I usually suggest a mix of, different types of ads. Usually, like I said, use a lot of static, or at least a few. And I love the digital boards because of flexibility. And then we talk about the flexibility of digital versus traditional. Digital is usually less because you're not paying usually the $500 to $800 production for the vinyl. And the challenges with digital boards like Austin, you don't see many digital boards in Austin. So for most cities, the outdoor board, like the city council, only allows, like if you want a new board, you have to take down 2. So that's why there's limited supply. Like San Antonio, we have tons of digital boards. But when I would look for candidates in Austin and in some other markets, it's like they're very limited. So targeting messaging opportunities. So again, we talked about this in the beginning about demographics and locations. Like if you want to target young voters near college campuses or, connecting with ethnic groups, it does really well. So the conclusion, an outdoor strategy is important. It's essential. You need to plan early to get the best boards. And it's like, I tell people to hire a reputable, it's like I'm able to pull every board that's available in any market. And I think that's real important because there's going to be large company that owns a lot of boards, but there are smaller ones too. I want to see what's all available. I want to pick from the whole pool, not a limited pool. Messaging, and I think we talked about a little bit what works. And so, people are driving by, so you have 5 seconds, and every word matters. Keep it short, bold, unforgettable. It's real important. Less is more, strong headlines, make it clear, call to action. I think nobody can read a cluttered billboard. Those are hard to read. And I think it's like, you talked about color. I think color is very important, especially like, what resonates well on a board. So, they talk about humor, make people like and remember you, outrage, demand attention, and feels urgency, cleverness, rewards the viewer, making the message more shareable. So these are all important. Consistency across media. This is important. I think all your messaging should be consistent across all, whatever media. And, you know, it's like it should look the same across everywhere. Call to action. And this is so important. Always, always remember to ask people to vote. Ask for the vote. And I think it's like on the end, popular versus persuasive. So popular messages get attention, laughs, and shares. Persuasive message changes mind and drive action. In politics, viral isn't always persuasive. The most effective campaigns balance both. So that's just important. Cutting through the noise. So that we're talking about a cluttered environment again. Just ensure that your billboard gets seen and remembered. And that's very important. Okay, so again, we showed this in the beginning. This one got a Reed Award. It could have been worse. I'm going to just show you some of the examples of the billboards we did for Mothers Against Greg Abbott. You can just go through. School vouchers, another Reed Award. And these are just other samples that we did for Nancy. And you can tell, like, you know, the messaging is very clear on all of them.
I want to say something really quick about billboards. You know, we all drive on major freeways where there are tons of really awful billboards from the Republican Party. And when Mothers Against Greg Abbott got together and we started doing stuff, we started buying billboards, and it rallied everybody. It rallied the people close to where the billboards were at. It rallied everyone. I'm going to make a challenge to all of you to go back home to your communities and see if you could go right ahead and start raising money for billboards and buy a billboard that stands for something for Democrats for the next, you know, for 6 months or something. Try to see if you can raise money for a long period of time, because Democrats really need to work at getting out their messaging as well as the Republicans. But I'm also going to tell you a secret. A lot of these billboard companies are owned by Republicans, and that is why it's really hard to find them. So anyway, okay, moving on. So let's move on to our next panel.
Thank you very much. So one of the biggest questions, or one of the biggest issues that comes up, especially with new candidates, new campaigns, is, do I really need to get my stuff printed by a union printer? And the answer is yes, you absolutely do. And I say this not as Tom Giliam, member of CWA 6132. I say this as Tom Giliam, former campaign manager, who made some horrible mistakes back in 2014. If it sounds like it's a gatekeeping mechanism, it's because it is. Democrats put their money where their mouth is. So if you're out there talking about pro-labor and your T-shirts are Gildans and they're printed by some internet company that advertises on Amazon, you're not really putting your money where your mouth is. One more thing I got to say, especially on the apparel side of things, the piggyback on your logo discussion. When you're thinking about colors, start thinking about what it's going to cost to print, because when we do things like screen printing, we charge by the color. And another thing that a lot of folks don't know is that when you're screen printing on dark colors, there's a base color which also gets charged. So if you got a 4-color logo, you might be looking at a 5-color screen print. And like I said, even though the pricing, although there are price breaks as you go up, the price does go up when you add more colors to the mix.
Okay, I will try to make this quick, but if you guys have additional questions, I'm right back there and would love to, obviously I love politics and marketing and I'm in the right space. So a lot of people think print is dying, and a lot of people think, I have a QR code, why do I need print? The importance of print is that, like we've all been saying, it's all about touch points. So first thing that I noticed, I had someone hand me a piece of paper yesterday. I'm thinking about, I've decided to run. I printed these at home. Can you tell me what you think about it? Sure. So the front, it had bullet points. That's great. You want 3 to 4 bullet points. Typically, I see that on the back of your push card, walk card, rack card. It's all relatively the same thing. The The front should have, like we've all been saying, a really nice photo of you. I've had state representatives that have sent me their lit, and the photo is so pixelated that we do have an in-house designer, and they basically have to like redraw and try to correct that photo, which we will do because we want to, if we're going to put it out there, we want it to look the best that it can in addition to you looking the best that it can too. The front should say, who are you? Where do you come from, right? I need the buy-in. The back should have, what are you going to do for me? So I want to see, who are you? Because I need you to tug at my heartstrings, and then I need to see how are we going to work together. And that can all be done on your push card, walk card, rack card, okay? These can be 4x6, these can be 5x6, and for us as a printer, we can do any type of paper. I know that there are other printers out there that differentiate and in cost. For us, we want your campaign to be the best that it can. So if you're wanting dull, gloss, normal, whatever, we will work with your whatever that you guys want, because again, it's a representation of you guys and us. To echo what Tom was saying, the other thing that I hear a lot is, well, I decided to run last minute. I ran to FedEx and got these. I'm going to tell you, the posters that you see all around that we worked with Nancy on, you can get that at FedEx for $70. You can get it from us for $40. So people a lot of times think FedEx and Staples, they're cheaper, right? They're not. So I always say, like, give us a chance to send you what our quote would be. And I've never had someone come back to me and say, oh, you're so astronomical, I'm going to go to FedEx. So not only do we want to make it affordable for you guys for your campaign, we want you guys to support union families, because if you haven't noticed over the last couple of days, we're all talking about working families, working families. That is a union print shop, okay? You're a working family. A union print shop means you support a living wage. You support someone's health benefits. You support a 401k, because as a small business owner, it's my cousins that own this, but that is what we can provide for our employees because we are a union print shop. And that is what our employees know when they come and work at a union print shop. And we have had people that walk off the street and come in and say, can I sweep for you? Can I clean for you? Because that means they would be employed by a union print shop and they would have those benefits. So that little bug, you're saying all of that in that little bug. And when you're running a nonpartisan race, that is essential, because you have to be able to say who you are when you can't really say who you are. And that is what that bug does. So clearly, as Tom and I were both union members, we're very passionate about that and the labor movement. So there's that. And then the other thing I will say is, if you want to get creative in your marketing, we love to get creative with you. I will call out Izzy, who is a campaign manager for Jason Ballman. She created what was called Ballman's Blue Bonnets seed packets, and we helped create that and print that. And that was one of his things. He handed out Blue Bonnet seed packets. That was memorable. I'm also going to call out Clayton Tucker, who is union member, prints with the union because he prints with us. He has such distinctive marketing. You can go over there and see who he is, what he stands for, just by looking at Clayton Tucker, his rally sign behind their booth, right? I've never seen Clayton without a hat. There's a hat on his name, right? So we work hand in hand with all of that. We want to get creative with you because we're just as invested as members of the community. We want to see everything from your local government all the way to the top, because we have to fix the foundation to be able to move forward with everything else. So there's my little passionate speech, but like, seriously, please come and see us and let us know how we can help you. Please don't send out a push card. Don't send out something without a bug on it. And if money is an issue, the good news is it's my family that owns it. So come and see me and I will ask for forgiveness versus permission. And I'm happy to send any of you guys 100 business cards on us with a union bug so that you can at least get a jump start on showing what you stand for.
Does anyone have any questions? All right, Mary.
Yes, so on the billboards, just a general price range. I know it's determined by location and what you have on there, but can you just give us a ballpark?
I would say like Austin is more expensive, so, I would say 6,500, 7,000 for, in a really good location.
For how long?
That's a month. So, yeah, billboards are expensive, so you can get them cheaper, but they're going to be remote areas where there's less traffic. I think they're more than San Antonio. San Antonio, I can get probably a good board for like, $5,000. But like the most, I think, prominent digital board there is 10,000. So that's like the one going downtown from San Antonio. Smaller markets are going to be less. You can get them for like 2,500. It's all based on population. How many people are you reaching? And that's how much boards, are going to go for. So they actually do like a DEC count on them. So they actually have people go and audit them, and so they can drive by them, and they'll tell you within a month's period, you're going to get, 4 million people, 200,000. And so when I get a list, we go through that list and we look at them, and they send pictures. And like, I like right-hand readers, because people driving. Cross readers are okay. You make sure that there's no obstruction around them, because we've seen many boards that had, telephone wires and, maybe other signage from like restaurants and stuff in front of them. It's just really important to find a good board. But yeah, I think it's like the major markets, because there's a huge population base, like Houston is even more expensive than Austin. Dallas is a slightly more, but less than Houston. It's all based on population.
And who is it that we call to find out what the count is and who owns the board and that kind of thing?
Well, it's like they have signs on them. So like, I'm an ad agency, like you can get my card, because basically if someone calls me, I can get all boards that in that area. And, small company, large company, and I get every available board for that time period. And then, we look at them all and we weed out the best, and then we send the good ones to the client to pick.
I'm thinking about in really rural areas or semi-rural areas like Canyon Lake in my district, and there's a billboard on what looks like a ranch. How do I figure out who owns that?
So it's like I said, it's like I work with people that's their job. They actually, if it's privately owned or, most of them are owned by companies. Usually like Clear Channel is one of the largest owners of boards. I think Outfront is one that refused to sell to us in Houston, so I wouldn't buy any from them because they didn't like the name Others Against Greg Abbott. And I was like, okay, like they didn't even look at the, at the creative, because everywhere we asked for, locations, we had to send them the creative because of the name, because what she's talking about, there's a lot of Republican companies that own the boards. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So I have a very long first and last name, Constantinos Bugas, 23 letters, and some people say you have to use your full name on everything so that people can recognize you on the ballot. I just want to use my first name, Constantinos. I'm going to be the only one from the top to the bottom of the ballot with my name. Do y'all have any opinions on that?
Yeah, for sure. Use whatever you feel comfortable using, and if nobody else has that name, just keep it consistent. Don't switch midway. Always highlight the name that you're using. Make that the emphasis. You could have the other part of your name like smaller, but yeah, just all you're looking for is brand recognition across your entire campaign.
I did a city council campaign last year for a guy named Eric Wilson, and he happened to be running against another guy named Eric Wilson. And so bizarre. And I saw him at a fundraiser, and I picked up his lit, and it said E-R-I, and then a red uppercase K. And I was with my boss, and we walked up to him, and the first thing my boss said was, "Eric with a K. Why do you have a K?" And he goes, "Because I'm running against another Eric, and he's a C." So he made himself distinctive. He became Eric with a K because that's how his campaign was differentiated between his opponent.
Izzy?
All right, so do any of those handouts on that table? Well, all right, well, on the table in front of you, it's a little tiny, barely legible kind of logo. It'll be usually in the corner or in the footer of a document. And usually, and like ours is CWA 6132, and it says CWA. Pardon? It's on the back of the badge. Yeah, ours is CWA. It's got some information on there. If you ever want to check in on a union, if you ever see another person's piece of lit and the union looks and the bug looks shady, you can contact that union and be like, hey, is this legit?
So, Mothers has union bugs on everything because they worked with us to print everything. And that's so symbolic because what that shows is that Mothers supports working families. So you'll see it right down to the stickers. I'm very proud to say you will see it on every shirt that you guys are going to wear, that you guys are wearing today that is from Mothers. On the back is that union bug. It's obviously so symbolic. And like Tom was saying, there are people that will steal a union bug and put it on lit. There are people that will use old union bugs and put it on lit. On the AFL-CIO website, that's who's listed. Tom's listed on that website, I'm listed on that website, and that's how you know that they are a legit union printer. So every union has a number. Tom's number is different than our number, and that shows we are a member of the union, we pay into it, all of that stuff. So that's what it looks like. If you're ever working with a union print shop, I will not call out anyone specifically, but a very important candidate handed me their lit yesterday without a union bug. And it's this, I don't know, I've got to control a filter for it, but I turned it over and I was like, where's your bug? Where's your bug? And he's like, no, I went to a union shop. And I'm like, no shop should ever not. You should be proud to put a bug on your lit. So if you need to go back, tell them to refund you. I'm happy to overnight you something wherever you're going next. Like, your role is important and you've got to stop handing that out. So if a union shop is saying they're a union shop and they're not putting a bug on it, they're not telling you something.
Yeah, just to add to that, we will print stuff without a union bug. We do stuff for a lot of people, but not political. And if you don't want a union bug on there, you need to request it, and you will be questioned about it. Like, we're gonna ask you some questions and ask why. Most times, if there's ever, whenever, and the only time anybody's ever requested no union bug is because it took away from the art.
Yeah. Oh,
My part two is, I'm a new baby candidate, I want to run for office, and I know I'm going to want labor's endorsement. Is there any shot in hell they endorse me if I don't have bug literature? No.
Well, you might get publicly called out by someone who's been, working for the pipe fitter union for 40 years.
And just so you know, like the labor, because we print for them, they will, like before every election, they do your voter card, and it's who they endorse. Like, having a labor endorsement is huge, and they do a whole vetting process with interviewing, with everything, before they decide who they're going to endorse. So getting that endorsement is a big deal.
And if you're ever worried about pricing, you can reach out to both our shops, and we'll work with you. I can speak for Bright Blue Ink. We're all true believers. Like, we want you to get elected, not because you're buying our stuff, it's because you're going to make Texas better. So we'll work with you and meet you halfway or whatever.
okay. Yes.
There's not in Bell County, but, Austin's only an hour and a half away or so. So we've done work in Bell County. We've done work all over Texas, all over the country. So like I said earlier, give us a shout. We'll work on it, and we'll work on pricing and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, I will say there's not, but I did have dinner with the Bell County chair last night, and I'm going to get her to start working with us, using us, and printing with us. So, I mean, my personal and our mission really is we want a democratic and we want a union-supported presence everywhere. I want to work with every county chair. We support all the county chair fundraisers. I'm at all the galas. An excuse to dress up. We will support all of that. We want to support the county chairs. Tom will say the same thing. We want to support your counties. We're going to make sure we get you your shit as fast as we can because we don't want you going anywhere else.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.